Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I have written a letter to the Prime Minister, and I'm sure you all will be very happy because, as you always say, that whenever there is a press conference, we tend to take up matters which has already been printed. Possibly today, there has been an effort which was made by me and my colleagues to give you something which is an extraordinary information. And in that reference, I have written a letter to the Prime Minister today. And the backdrop of all this is that we believe that the Honorable Prime Minister believes in transparency. और सतन आप लोगों का ये रहता है कि हम दूसरे के समाचारों पर अपना बयान देते हैं। आज एक ऐसे तथ्यों के साथ हम आपके बीच में आए हैं और विशेष करके इस संदर्भ में हमने देश के प्रधानमंत्री को एक पत्र लिखा है और जहां इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री और उनका सचिवालय पारदर्शिता की बात करता है, दे टॉक अबाउट ट्रांसपेरेंसी. There was an information which was sought from the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister's Secretariat, including the Cabinet Secretariat, on 3rd November 2009. It took us almost 2 years, and I would say with more than 20 meetings which went up to the level of the CIC, it took almost 2 years. And the last information which we got was on 5th July 2011, almost 2 years. और क्योंकि जिस विषय के बारे में मैं चर्चा करने वाला हूं, इसकी जानकारी देने में प्रधानमंत्री कार्यालय कैबिनेट सेक्रेटेरिएट ने 2 वर्ष लगाए. मुझे नहीं लगता है कि देश में कहीं भी कोई ऐसा आरटीआई होगा जिसकी सूचना प्राप्त करने के लिए 2 वर्ष लगे होंगे, और वो भी जो प्रधानमंत्री कार्यालय से जुड़ा हुआ हो. और ये संदर्भ है जिसकी चर्चा आज हम निरंतर सुनते आ रहे हैं. And this relates to an organization which has been a pride for this country, Air India. And today we are aware that more than 40,000 employees have not been given their salaries for last couple of months. And apart from several reports which have emerged in last couple of months. और इसमें जो कागजात हम आपको देंगे, it will be circulated shortly, are 2 separate pieces of paper, and one relates to a search committee. And I would like to repeat that a search committee is only constituted by the Prime Minister in extraordinary situations when there is an appointment to be made of a top notch in a public sector enterprise. And the ACC made a search committee comprising of the Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Chandrasekhar, the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, Mr. T.K. Nair, the Chairman of the Public Enterprises Selection Board, the then Secretary Civil Aviation, Mr. Ashok Chawla, and the DOPT Secretary, which met on 6th March 2008 and 24th March 2008. These dates are very important, as you will yourself read it in the news, in the documents. और जब ये सर्च कमेटी बैठी तो उन लोगों ने 7 लोगों का for appointment of CMD Air India, 7 people were interviewed out of a list of 160 who were found fit to be interviewed for appointment of CMD Air India. And after the process of all these 7 people was completed, it was found in 2008, and I repeat, in 2008, the search committee found that Mr. Arvind Jadhav was not fit for appointment as the CMD of Air India. मैं फिर से दोहराऊंगा, जो 2008 में जो सर्च कमेटी बैठी जिसमें प्रधानमंत्री कार्यालय के प्रतिनिधि के साथ साथ उन लोगों ने ये पाया कि Mr. Arvind Yadav is not fit to be appointed as a CMD. And in para 4 of the reply, the minutes of the cabinet committee, the minutes of the search committee reads, and this is also very important, in view of complex issues in area of personnel and finance arising out of the merger of the two airlines, Air India and Indian Airlines, and consequent need for experience in civil aviation, Mr. Yadav's name has not been selected. And I again repeat the word, the minutes records again that on the basis of domain knowledge, इस क्षेत्र के अनुभव के आधार पर, सिविल एविएशन के अनुभव के आधार पर, and to ensure smooth integration and professional management of the merged entity in times of stiff competition, the name of Raghu Menon was chosen, who was appointed in 2008 as the CMD of Air India, and the documents pertaining to that is there. Here, exactly after 1 year, और मैं फिर दोहराना चाहूँगा, ये नियुक्ति समाप्त हो गई, रघु मेनन को CMD एयर इंडिया बना दिया गया, लेकिन ठीक 1 वर्ष के बाद, that was a year later, in 2009, the Prime Minister again constituted a search committee, which was again chaired by Mr. Chandrasekhar, the Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Nair, the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, who were old members, and 2 new members, which was then Secretary Civil Aviation and Secretary DOPT. This time, the man or the institution which is responsible for appointments of public enterprises, the chairman of the PESP, refused to participate in the meeting of the search committee. And the ACC, which means the Prime Minister, directed the ACC to revalidate the list of 2008, which was exhausted, which had lapsed, and the ACC, in the meetings of the search committee this time, found that the person who was disqualified for appointment the previous year, जिस व्यक्ति को उसी सर्च कमिटी ने पिछले वर्ष अयोग्य करार दिया गया था इस नियुक्ति के लिए, उस अगले वर्ष उस व्यक्ति का नाम CMD एयर इंडिया के पैनल में डाला गया. And I repeat, और उस पैनल में डाला गया जिसमें 3 IAS अधिकारियों के नाम थे, और जिस आधार पर श्री अरविंद यादव का नाम हटाया गया था, उन्हें उस पैनल में 2 अन्य IAS अफसरों के साथ रखा गया, और वो पैनल पुनः ACC के पास भेजा गया, जो प्रधानमंत्री के पास निर्णय के लिए गया, और देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने उस पैनल में से अरविंद यादव की नियुक्ति की. और इससे जो सवाल उठते हैं वो सीधा है, what was the compulsion of fishing out a panel which had lapsed, and what was the reason for the Prime Minister to revalidate a panel which had been exhausted? Number 1. Has ever in the history of independent India, ever a panel which was declared unfit and unqualified was revived at the level of the Prime Minister? Question 2. Was not the panel in which Raghu Menon was appointed did it not amount the exhaustion of the panel which was considered then? Did not the two members who were also present in the following search committee, Mr. Chandrasekhar, the Cabinet Secretary, and Mr. Nair, the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, reject, and I repeat, reject earlier the candidature of Mr. Arvind Yadav? Why was, after a year when appointment was being made, that the interviews, which is usual for any appointment of a public sector enterprises chief, done through PASB, is a question 5th. Why did the, question 6, why did the PESB chairman did not participate in the subsequent meeting? How can a person who was found unfit for appointment the previous year become qualified the following year? The person who did not have domain experience, and I repeat, the person who did not have domain experience the previous year, how come that man qualified and became experienced in just 1 year? And I am submitting an enclosure. The copy will be given to you all. The column which has the experience of domain in the column which must have been perused by the Prime Minister, the column of experience against Mr. Arvind Yadav's domain experience is a bold NIL nil. हम फिर से दोहराना चाहेंगे कि जो अनुभव का कॉलम है जिसके आधार पर उनकी नियुक्ति की गई है, जिसे प्रधानमंत्री ने नियुक्ति के समय स्वयं देखा होगा, उस कॉलम में अरविंद यादव का के नियुक्ति का जो अनुभव का कॉलम है उसमें उनका अनुभव नील दिया गया है। और इसके साथ साथ ये सवाल जाता है कि जब देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने ऐसे व्यक्ति को योग्य करार देते हुए उसकी नियुक्ति की है वहां, तो निश्चित रूप से देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने अपने टिप्पणियां दी होगी कि किस आधार पर इस अयोग्य व्यक्ति को, जिन्होंने पिछले वर्ष स्वयं उन्होंने अयोग्य करार दिया था, किस परिस्थिति में उसे पुनः उन्होंने योग्य करार दिया। एंड देन द अदर क्वेश्चन, when you talk about stability in an organization, on what basis a chairman who was appointed was removed in 1 year? And another aspect, in the very list of interview, there were 5 other candidates who had long years of experience in civil aviation, the domain experience, were not selected and were disqualified, which also had some former MDs of Air India. Next question. Why was this appointment done, and this is very particular, done when the whole country was in the middle of general elections 2009?